Section 1, The Megastack, Chapter 8, Principles. So here is the bottom line. I am called the lead men, but the tools, books, software, and weapons of the Warrior's Way were born to go to all men and women. Garrett J. White. Now you can see that I don't share anything within this book lightly. I know that you've also probably become enthralled with the story that occurred between myself and the voice, but it's time to teach you some shit. As you saw when I first began my conversation with the voice, I was beyond capable of niceties and didn't even bother asking who I was talking with until I got all the rage out. When you are blind to the possibility, something simple like the Megastack then becomes overwhelming and unattainable. So what's our possibility? Taking the same game that exists when we're unable to see, then shifting it from being blind to a gold mine. We are given corrective lenses that take an unclear, opaque picture and turn it into one of sharp clarity. These lenses come in the form of stacking, where the Megastack provides prescription strength clarity to any event and trigger as we learn the following principles. Principle 1, you must fight in the night. Principle 2, your drift is your gift. Principle 3, change your story, change your life. And Principle 4, the light is found in the night. No longer will you see the world through dimmed spectacles. The principles behind the Megastack will help you see in every circumstance ways in which you can shift out of the dark into the light. Principle number 1, you must fight in the night. So what does it mean to fight in the night? That is not until the sun goes down that we're going to get triggered. You know, as well as I do that, triggers couldn't care less what time of day it is. They will occur. So this statement is a figurative example of what the night looks like inside of us. Within Warrior, night is defined as what occurs for you when you begin to drift, not to you, as there is a gift within every drift, which we'll go into in more detail shortly. The moment that we're triggered, we start to drift. Therefore, we experience the night within. That night moves us first into anger, then down into blame. From blame, we delve further into darkness with guilt and shame. We have this flow of energy known as anger that's moving us down, creating a gap between the trigger and what's happening in this emotional experience. The deeper the level, the more this anger turns into rage. Now, each of these levels of anger and rage are simply random releases of energy. But when we're in the night, we're blind to this logic and remain stuck in the emotional karmic loop that continuously spirals us downward into blame, guilt, and shame. Our target is not to suppress that anger. It's to fight. In order to do this, we must have the ability to become aware of who or what it is that we're fighting, which isn't the event itself, but the feelings that have attached itself to the story and to the trigger. We're fighting our feelings and the suppression of these feelings based off of what we've been taught, trained, and educated to believe is acceptable in society. We are seeing instead of suppression feelings. The great thing about doing the Megastack on a consistent basis is that we develop night vision. So the fight in the night becomes more and more manageable as we no longer suppress our feelings, but shift them into something that we can see. Something we can fight, which is the sedation of our feelings. We become aware and awake inside of our own world to the reality of the consequences that come from constantly suppressing or sedating that anger. Instead, we are trained to activate that awakened awareness. We do this through weapons and tools provided within the Wake Up Warrior movement in the form of stacking, as we learn the psychology around dealing with all this anger that we're feeling. Becoming awake to this anger then prevents it from turning into destructive feelings like rage, blame, guilt, and shame. Look, it's inevitable at some point we're going to get angry at work, with the boss, especially if that boss is you. Clients, employees, spouse, kids, on the road after getting cut off or in line to get coffee while the person in front of you can't make up their damn mind on a fucking latte or espresso. Getting angry isn't the problem. The problem is being unaware of what it is that's triggering us. We have become aware, awake, and then active the ability to do something different. This activation is all about having the courage and willingness to do one thing, which is to fight in the night as we attack this bitch with a stack. Inside of the Megastack, we see those emotions for what they are, random releases of energy rather than defining characteristics of who we are as individuals. No longer do we attempt to suppress them, we fight them and turn them into gifts. Principle number 2, your drift is your gift, which takes us to our second principle of seeing gifts in the drifts of life. What does this mean? The drift is an inevitable reaction that we have to an event moving down in a pit within ourselves. And the deeper we move down, the more fucked we feel. But remember, when we are able to shift our focus from the drift towards extracting a gift from this slump, we no longer feel bogged down, but educated that everything we're experiencing has a purpose and a point. Let's imagine that I find myself in a rage, out of my fucking mind, stuck in a drift. Well, where do I see my gift? Inside of the Megastack. See, it's not going to be a while I'm operating in the status quo of life. The gift occurs inside of the drift. The reason I was triggered was so that I could grow, not because I fucked up. The reason I'm feeling rage is because I'm trying to suppress the anger that's trying to teach me a lesson. Realizing that there's a gift inside of every drift allows us to transmute that rage back to anger, which fires us up in something productive. This realization becomes a shift in our story. Principle 3, change your story, change your life. When we have a vision that says the drift is not a problem, we shift our focus towards fighting in the night, which is where we're able to see the drift becomes a gift towards change. And when we're willing to make a change to our story, we're able to change the trajectory of our life. Here's the one thing I'm going to have you consider. Our lives are a function of the stories that we tell ourselves that we believe to be true. The end. Like, if I follow you around and look at the results inside of your entire life, I will see a function of your stories. And those stories are what drive your behaviors and mine. We tell ourselves these sneaky little fucking stories, and then we believe them. They're not true for anybody else. It's the mentality that declares, nope, that's how it is. We put ourselves on repeat when we remain stuck in the story of, that's how it is, that's how it is, and that's how it is. So when I say I changed your story, change your life, we are able to see gifts in the drifts that we all experience and become willing to fight in the night. Being willing to change your story becomes a pivot point in the drift. It requires courage. Let me emphasize again. We cannot lift if we do not drift, nor can we shift if we do not drift. The drift is part of growth, creating the tension needed to propel us forward to a higher plane. Drifting is not a problem. Being in the night, not a problem. Thinking that the current trajectory is just the way it is, unable to experience growth in this karmic loop of anger, blame, guilt, and shame, well, that is a problem. Our solution? Having courage to create a new story. The shift means we're no longer suppressing, but fighting. So, change your story, change your life is the difference between being in this experience and choosing to attack so you can gain the golden prize versus remaining stuck in a fucking pit, feeling sorry for yourself because of what life is doing to you rather than for you. Principle 4. The light is found in the night. There is the direction of drifting down into the darkness, but it's the moment of the shift that becomes an awakening which allows us to access a deeper level of light. When we remain stuck in the problem, which brings with it a depressed cycle of victimhood, we're no longer able to see the gift in this drift, remaining blind to any possibility. Through using the lens of the Megastack, we can see that the brightest light shines in the darkest of night. The drift has with it a lack of understanding after a trigger or event occurs. We get benched. So even when the universe calls us forward to access deeper levels of light, power, and truth with possibilities, we will remain blind, sitting on the sidelines. Our anger for getting benched then turns to rage, and we allow guilt, blame, and shame to keep us brooding on the bench. In our blindness, we don't realize that right next to us on the bench is a box, and in the core of that box is light. It's just trapped. Yet when open, this light will penetrate the night. So what does this require us to do then? To be willing to shift where we're sitting complacent and activate our feelings for solutions rather than allow ourselves to remain held back by these emotions. It requires us to find the box titled Change and open it. Inside, there are glasses that will allow us to change blindness for sight, granting us access to the light. We will be able to see with clarity the gift that has always been with the drift. Yet none of this would have occurred had we not first drifted, so we could be sitting on that bench. It's why this book is specifically written for married businessmen with children. The box labeled Elite Leader for married businessmen with children was always there, sitting on the bench, but I needed to experience a drift in order to receive the gift that I was always dwelling inside of this box. Drifting then becomes part of the design towards growth. Once we understand that, the light can only be accessed by having the courage to open the box in the first place. And so drifting is one of the greatest opportunities that happen for us to become better than we were before getting triggered, when we recognize that we've simply been trained to be scarred and scared of the bench, and the box that holds the gift to our lift. Everything changes. We're able to develop strategies which will be covered in the next chapter.